What's up, guys? Coming back to you with another update on the product that I have patent pending. So just left the manufacturer, had a good talk with them, sat down, made sure that they had some things in place that I wanted to hear about. So it's basically kind of like an interview process. So as you know, up until this point, the product has been patented. It is patent pending. And so now it's time to start talking to manufacturers, figuring out how to get what's called an MVP, which is a minimum viable product. That is to really kind of test it in the market, really redefine and fine tune what the product's going to look like. That step comes after the proof of concept, which they refer to as POC. So during the proof of concept phase is when you heard me talk about me sending it to a friend of mine who has a cleaning company and letting his staff really kind of work with the product, refine the product, give me some feedback, some advice on how much it should weigh, how long it should be, how it fits in their hands and things like that. So sitting down with the manufacturer today, first thing you want to make sure that you do always before you start talking anything specific about your product is to sign a non-disclosure agreement, also known as an NDA. So as we sat down, we began to talk. We were talking in generalities. He was asking about some general things about the product, about how far I was in the process. I was doing the same, asking him some specifics really about some of their capabilities, their specialties, some of the things that they've done in the past. And probably about 10 or 15 minutes, and maybe about 15 minutes in, he switched gears and said, hey, I'd like to know a little bit more about your product. A little bit more specifically. And I said, no problem. Once we sign, I said, I'll give you some generalities until we get to signing an NDA. Any reputable manufacturer will not have any issue with you asking them to sign an NDA. So when we begin talking about specifics, or before we started talking about specifics, again, I told him, yeah, I'll give you some generalities, and we'll talk, just kind of surface level things about the product until we signed an NDA. He said, oh, not a problem. Immediately got up, went and grabbed the NDA. They should have a template NDA on file that they use. He had one of the owners sign it, or one of the signers, may not have been the owner, but somebody who had the authority to sign it. I filled it out, signed it. He gave me a copy, and then we got down to business and started talking about what exactly my product was, how it looked, and I actually had it on me at the time, so I went and got it out the car, brought it to him. We started discussing what it does, how it works, what my vision was for it, and then he started laying out a little bit about what the next steps were, which with this company, in this case, it would be to kind of get a team together, start figuring out if you need a mechanical engineer, if you need a software engineer, a chemical engineer, and start putting that in front of the team. And while that's being done, they can start formulating some timetables, some cost structures, and really get me some more information that is specific to my product and how it can go to market from there. So it was a very good meeting, very straightforward. I was expecting it. I had allocated an hour to really sit down and talk to them, not really sure how much time was going to be needed. They were actually waiting for me when I got there. Very good manufacturer. The atmosphere was real good. The receptionist, front desk clerk was real good. Everybody I talked to in passing was very friendly and outspoken. So that really made me feel at ease with at least talking to them. But best believe, by no means is that the only manufacturer that I'm going to talk to. I actually have a follow-up meeting with them next week. We're going to discuss some things via email, give them a little bit more about the specs on what I'm looking for. Then he can kind of set up a timetable for me, and we're going to reconvene next week, and I'll be giving you guys an update on that. But when we reconvene next week, we'll be talking about some more specifics, like I mentioned earlier, on some timetables, exactly how much, some cost structures, how much it's going to cost at each step, and then kind of what the next phases will be. So next week, before I have that follow-up meeting with this manufacturer, I also have a meeting the day before with another manufacturer who I've been kind of talking to generally for a couple weeks now. And so when I'm gonna sit down, we've actually got an appointment set up next week. I'm gonna sit down and do the same thing with them. They've already signed the NDA. We've done that via email. I emailed it to them. They signed it, sent it back to me because I had a blanket one on file just in case they didn't. And then what we'll do is we'll go through that same process. So that's kind of where we are right now, moving things along with the product so you guys can understand the progression. And I want all of you out there who are thinking about launching a product to see how it works. You know, I will give you as much information as I can as I go through this process so that you can have a resource for how to create a product, patent a product, launch a product, and then potentially bring it to market or have it licensed or whatever you decide to do with it from there. So that's today's quick video, just talking about what happened with the first manufacturing meeting. I'll bring you some more videos as we continue to go through this process. Hope to get one out for you next week once we get this second interview done, as well as the first interview with the second manufacturer. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe so when I do launch those episodes and get that video released, you'll get that notification and you won't miss it. So I would love to hear about your experiences with what you're doing with your product. Obviously, we haven't signed an NDA, so I don't want you to get into too much specifics, really going in depth about your product, the name, specifications, things like that. But I'd love to hear how your journey's been going. Also, maybe some questions that you have, some resources that you may need that I've had an opportunity to utilize myself. Just leave those in the comments below and I'll be more than happy to share as much information as I can with you to make your journey nice and smooth. Until then, I will see you guys with the next video, and I look forward to giving you more valuable information about creating and launching and possibly selling your product.